Very good morning to all of you. Today topic is very simple and easy to understand. Basically, the theoretical topic, we are starting with the section 31, that is tax invoice. What is the tax invoice? It has been given in the 31. What is the content that has been given in the multiple rules, rule 46, etc. So 31 subsection 1 talks about when the registered person required to issue the tax invoice. Because the word is before. So 31.1 talking about supply of goods. 31.1 talking about for goods. And point to be noted, it is taxable goods. Meaning thereby, if the goods are exempted, then we are not required to issue the tax invoice. Can anybody tell me, if I am registered person making the exempted supply, what is the name of the document which I am required to issue as per the GST law? What is the name of the document which I am required to issue as per GST law? The answer is correct. It is bill of supply. So if I am supplying the taxable goods, then on or before, it means they are giving the last date to issue the tax invoice. It can be before, no problem. They are saying if the removal of the goods for supply to the recipient where the supply involve the movement of the goods. If the goods involve, if the supply involve the movement of goods, then the last date of removal of the goods. What is the last date to issue the tax invoice? The date of removal of the goods for supply to the recipient. A registered person supplying the taxable goods before or at the time of removal or delivery of the goods or making available thereof. No, clause 1, when the goods involve the movement, and the clause 2, in any other case, meaning thereby when the supply does not involve the movement of goods. What could be the example? Just confirm that, can I say that this property is belongs to me and I have sold to you? Can it be the perfect example? For supply does not involve the movement of the goods. I have the property in Delhi, let's say, and which I have sold to you. Can I say that it is the perfect example for the clause B? Correct. Nah, it is the perfect example. Why you are saying no? See, I know that property will not move. I know that property will not move. Then why you are saying it is not the example? Oh, because if I refer the definition of the goods, which talks about movable only, it means goods are movable, but as a result of supply, it does not involve the movement. It can be when I sold this particular, let's say, tuition center I have, which I have sold to you, and in the tuition center, I have the projector, I have the tables, chairs, air condition, that also being sold to you. Now, because of this supply, the table, chair, etc. will not move. Therefore, it can be fit into the clause B, the delivery of the goods or making available thereof to the recipient in any other case. Proviso says that government on the recommendation of the council by notification specify the category of the goods or services in respect of which tax invoice shall be issued within such time, such manner as may be prescribed. ठीक है. Now let's move to the clause 2, subsection 2. Absolutely correct. Sanjay, Ayush, Yogesh, and Geet. Now it talk about services. A registered person supplying the taxable services before or after the provision of service. Again, the word before is there. It means, can I issue the invoice in advance? Answer is yes. Full invoice? Can I am completing the service, yet to complete the service. I have not received any payment. Can I still issue the invoice? Answer is yes, because the section 31 having the word before. But within a prescribed time, issue the tax invoice showing the description, value, tax charge, and other provision as may be prescribed, provided that the government may, on the recommendation of the council by notification, specify the categories of the services or supplies in which a tax invoice shall be issued within such time, such manner as may be prescribed. मैं repeat करता हूं, provided that government on the recommendation of the council by notification specify the category of the services or supplies in respect of which tax invoice shall be issued within such time, such manner as may be prescribed. We will talk about Rule 54, then we will be able to understand what are the circumstances in which they have made the special provision. Subject to the condition mentioned therein, specify the category of the services in respect of which any other document in relation to the supply shall be deemed to be the tax invoice. Can anyone give me the example for this category? कोई दूसरा document which government says that it will be deemed that it is a tax invoice? Any example? Can you quote कि जहां पे गवर्नमेंट ने कहा है कि this document will be treated as tax invoice? कोई document? Correct. Like bank statement. Correct. Like transportation of passenger service. In all cases, they are saying ticket is considered as tax invoice. From where they are getting the power? 31 subsection 2. Notwithstanding anything contained in subsection 1 and subsection 2, a registered person may, within 1 month from the issuance of the certificate of registration and in such manner as may be prescribed, issue the revised invoice against the invoice already issued during the period beginning with the effective date of the registration till the date of issue of the certificate of registration to him. Mr. A, who is having the turnover more than 20 lakh on 1st Feb 2025, within how many days he need to make the application of registration? कितने दिन में उसको registration के लिए apply करना है? The answer is 30 days. He has applied, so this is date of liability. This is, let's say, 25th Feb is the date of application, and let's say 6th March is the date of registration. Now he is required to pay the GST from which date? He is required to pay the GST from which date? He is required to pay the GST from which date? The answer is 1st Feb. the day when it crossed the threshold limit or it fall under mandatory category of registration. In that case, he can issue the invoice, but will it contain the GST number of Mr. A? Will it contain the GST number of Mr. A? Answer is no. Therefore, section 31 subsection 3 clause A says, 31 subsection 3 clause A says that once he get the registration, he can issue the revised invoice. He can issue the revised invoice from the date of the effective date of the registration till the from the effective date of the registration till the date of issuance of certificate of registration to him. So इस period में from this date to this date, whatever he has issued the invoice, he can issue the revised invoice, and based on that, the recipient would able to see in the GSTR 2B and satisfied all other condition for taking the input tax credit. Registered person may not issue the tax invoice if the value of the goods or services is less than 200 rupees. In such manner as may be prescribed. What is the manner that we will discuss in some time? But remember, clause B says that if the value is less than 200, then he is not required, he may not issue the tax invoice. तो उसे क्या करना पड़ेगा? What document he is required to issue? Just wait for some time. 31 subsection 3 clause C says, if the person is, okay, tell me one thing. You have told the name of the document. What is the name of the document? If I am making the exempted supply, the name of the document is bill of supply. Bill of supply would be issued by one more category of the person. Can you tell me who will issue the bill of supply in one more case? The answer is composition dealer. Answer is composition dealer. If the person is registered in the section 10, if the person is registered in the section 10, in that case, he will issue the bill of supply because he cannot collect the tax. Again, the same proviso which we have talked about here. Again, the same proviso. If the value is less than 200, then he is not required to issue the tax invoice or bill of supply. If the payment is received in advance, what is the name of the document? If I have received the advance payment, then what is the name of the document? The answer is receipt voucher. On receipt of advance payment, it is for goods also, it is for service also. Can anybody tell me whether we need to pay the GST on advance for supply of the goods? Do we need to pay the GST if I have received the advance from you and I am making the supply of the goods to you? Whether GST is payable on advance for supply of the goods? The answer is no, but there is one exception. But there is some exception. If, tell me, Geet, you have given the correct answer. Thank you so much. So there are some exception. I told you one, but yes, Geet has told me two exception. Thank you so much. No, it is not 1000. Yes, Yogesh has also given the correct answer. Composition taxpayer, and if I am making the specified actionable claim. Specified actionable claim is goods. We have discussed multiple times. So if I am making the supply of the specified actionable claim, online money gaming, in that case, if I have received the advance from you, I need to pay the GST. Now, where the receipt of the advance, issue the receipt voucher, but subsequently there is no supply made and no tax invoice is issued, then which document I will issue? I will give the money back to the person who has given the advance. I will give the money back. Which document I will issue? I will issue the document named as refund voucher only. Only refund voucher, not the refund payment. Then the said registered person may issue the refund voucher. Now the clause F says a registered person who is liable to pay the tax under 93 or 94 shall issue an invoice in respect of goods or service or both received by him from the supplier who is not registered. A registered person who is liable to pay the tax under 9394 shall issue an invoice in respect of goods or services received by him from the supplier who is not registered. Correct? So let please quickly complete the Excel chart, which I think I have taken already, but let me repeat again. Normally took in the RCM chapter. I am normally taking this particular discussion in the RCM chapter, but not taken by me. But let me make you the chart. Supplier is registered. Supplier is unregistered. And assume that self invoice, and I am talking about payment voucher. So 31 subsection 3 clause F and the 31 subsection 3 clause G. Now tell me yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. Or I can give the number 1, 2, 3, and 4. Just give me the answer. What is the 1? Yes or no? What is the 2? Yes or no? What is the 3? Yes or no? And what is the 4? Yes or no? Just quickly complete the chart. Tell me the answer. It is for the only reverse charge. Okay. Yogesh is saying right answer, Yogesh. Geet, right answer. Ayush, the 2 answer which you have given is correct. But what about rest 2? Please complete the rest 2. Sanjay, very right answer. Right answer. Okay. So it means only in this case the answer would be no. Only in this case, answer would be no. Rest applicable. Rest, it would be applicable. It means I can say the payment voucher would always be applicable in case when whether supplier is registered or not registered. Here, which payment are being considered? Option A, option 1, payment by supplier to government, or option 2, payment by recipient to supplier. यहाँ पर किस पेमेंट वाउचर बनाना है? पेमेंट वाउचर will be made for which part? GST part, which supplier made the payment to the government, पेमेंट बाय रिसिपिएंट टू सप्लाई, सॉरी यहाँ पे गलत लिख दिया, पेमेंट बाय रिसिपिएंट टू गवर्नमेंट, because it is an RCM, the tax will be paid by the recipient only to the government. I hope it is clear. Both the provisions are clear to you, right? Now let me go back. So 31.3 clause F is completed. 31.3 clause Z is completed. Now, in case of the continuous supply of the goods and in case of the continuous supply of service, in case of the continuous supply of the goods, in case of the continuous supply of service, please tell me what is the difference in the goods, continuous supply the goods and continuous supply the service with respect to the continuity in number of days. इन दोनों में नंबर ऑफ डेज का एक डिफरेंस है कि ये इतने दिन सर्विस गुड्स देनी चाहिए या इतने दिन सर्विस देनी चाहिए कंटिन्यूसली, then only we can say that it is a continuous supply. आयुष, पहले वाले क्वेश्चन का, जो क्वेश्चन मैंने पूछा था उसका, जो चार्ट बनाया था उसकी बात कर रहे हैं या अभी जो क्वेश्चन पूछ रहा हूं उसका? ओके, नाउ इट्स क्लियर. राइट आंसर योगेश एंड जीत. In case of the continuous supply of the goods, there is no continuity required. But in case of the continuous supply of the service, it should be continued for more than 3 months. Plus, there is one more condition. Always remember this condition. I don't know. Yeah. Always remember this condition. For both, it is same. But whenever we talk about continuous supply, whether it is goods or services, always remember this condition where the periodical payment obligation is there. Assume that you are providing the service for more than 3 months. Assume that you are providing the service for more than 3 months, but the contract says that you will receive the payment only after completion in one shot. You will receive the payment only after completion of service in one shot. Is it a continuous supply service? Answer is no, because there has to be the periodic payment. It can be yearly, it can be monthly, it can be quarterly, it can be fortnightly, whatever. But there has to be the periodical payment obligation. Remember, this point is always missed. And it is exceeding 3 months that you have already told. ठीक है. So in case of the continuous supply of the goods where successive statement of accounts or successive payments are involved, the invoice shall be issued before or at the time each statement is issued, or as the case may be, payment is received. In case of the continuous supply of the goods, what is the time limit to issue the tax invoice? Successive statement of account or payment, whichever is, I can say, earlier. Now, if it is continuous supply of the service, it has been divided in three parts. For continuous supply of the service, it has been divided in three parts. If the due date is ascertainable from the contract. Next, if not ascertainable from the contract. Third, when the payment is linked to the completion of an event. There are 3 points. If the due date is ascertainable, not ascertainable, and third is when the payment is linked to the completion of an event. The clause A, when the due date is ascertainable from the contract, then invoice shall be issued on or before the due date of that payment. If not ascertainable, then actual payment. Actual payment. If the payment is linked to the completion of an event, the invoice shall be issued on or before the date of the completion of that event. So like in the real estate sector, I can give one example where the payment is linked. Like if you complete the structure, so on booking of the flat, the 50% need to be paid. Balance next 10% once structure is complete. Next 10% when your flat is complete. Next 10% when it is ready. Something like that. It means if the contract to purchase the flat under construction does not have the due date of the payment which is ascertainable, in that case, if that contract is linked to the completion of an event, payment, then payment part, if it is linked to the completion of an event, then we can say that invoice has to be issued on or before that due date of the completion of an event. 6. In case when the service ceases under a contract, when the supply of the service ceases, it means Mr. A has received the contract for completion of service for 1 year, but after 2 months, the contract has been cancelled by the customer as per the terms. Therefore, the Mr. A required to issue the invoice to the extent it has completed the service. Sales of goods on approval. What is the time limit to issue the tax invoice? If I am supplying the goods on approval, if I'm sending the goods, that is sales on approval. Once my customer will accept, then I will issue the tax invoice. What is the time limit? It is 6 months. So notwithstanding anything contained in subsection 1, when the goods being sent or taken on approval for the sales or the returns are removed before the supply takes place, the invoice shall be issued before or at the time of the supply or maximum 6 months from the date of the removal, whichever is earlier. Correct? Then section 31 subsection A says facility of the digital payment. Government on the recommendation of the council, prescribe the class of the registered person. What is the meaning of the prescribed? Will the rule will be there or notification will be there? What would be there? The answer is rules. Class of the registered person who shall provide prescribed mode of electronic payment to the recipient of goods or service or both made by him and give option to such recipient to make the payment accordingly. So now in some cases they will talk about that payment has to be collected in this manner, QR code, dynamic QR code, etc. Correct. Now rule 47. Time limit for issue of the invoice in case of 31.1, 31.2, 31.4, 31.5. Read with rule 47. Now, in case of service, invoice has to be issued before or at the time of, normally if it is a supply of service, then invoice has to be issued before, that is okay. But after, then what is the time limit? After, but within a 30 days. So normal time limit is invoice has to be issued in case of the services within 30 days. And in case of service, 30 days. And if it is an insurance, banking, financial institution, NBFC, insurance, banking, FI, NBFC, it is 45 days. Whether in case of, please give me the answer, in case of the telecommunication service, telephone operator, Airtel, Bharti Airtel, Jio, what is the time limit to issue the invoice? Is it 30 days or 45 days? It is 30 days because 45 days is limited to the banking and insurance. But when you see the third provision, it has added the telecom operator also. Third provision means if it is provided insurance company, banking company, FI, including NBFC, or telecom operator, or any other class of the supplier as may be notified, making the taxable supplies of services between distinct person. This point is applicable only when the services are rendered between the company, one pen, multiple GSTN. That is the distinct person. If they provide the service between them, in that case, it is taxable as per schedule. Give me the answer by which schedule it is taxable. The answer is schedule 1. Correct? May issue the invoice before or at the time when supplier record the same in his books, or before the expiry of the quarter during which supply was made. Now we are talking about continuous supply of the goods and continuous supply of service. Continuous supply of the goods we have already clear. Continuous supply of the service we are already clear. Correct? So I'm just leaving. 31.6 is clear. 31.7 is clear. Now let's move. Let's read this. There is a one clarification. This was 1 second. This is a clarification that if the goods has been sent out or taken out of India for exhibition purpose or consignment purpose for export promotion. It was Circular 108, which talks about the goods are taken out of India for exhibition or consignment basis for export promotion. The activity of sending or taking the goods out of India for exhibition or consignment basis for export promotion, except when such activity satisfy the test laid down in the Schedule 1. See, when you are sending the goods out of India for exhibition, does it mean it has consideration or no consideration? The answer is no consideration. And the transaction which is without consideration can be supply. Answer is except Schedule 1, it is not the supply. Therefore, the circular says that if it is sent out of India for exhibition, in that case, the activity will be considered as supply if satisfied the condition of the Schedule 1. If it is fall in the Schedule 1. The specified goods taken out of India are required to be either sold or brought back within the specified time period of 6 months from the date of the removal as per the provision contained in section 31 subsection 7. Specified goods taken out of India are required to be either sold or brought back within the stipulated time period from the date of the removal as per the provision of 31.7. What is the 31.7? 6 months. Correct? Are required to be brought back. So अगर goods वापस नहीं आता within this time limit, then what to do? It will be considered as deemed supply. So before that, let me explain the main important point of the circular. Point number 1, if it satisfies the Schedule 1, then only it is a supply, otherwise it is not a supply, even though you are sending the goods out of India. Further, they are saying the time limit of 6 months will be applied because of 31 subsection 7. If the goods are not coming back within a period of 6 months, it will be considered as deemed supply. Point number 3. Then for sending the goods, they have linked to the rule 55, which talks about the delivery challan. So for sending the goods out of India, you need to prepare the delivery challan. The circular has given the one format which need to be completed when the goods are being sent out of India, submitted to the custom authority. That is not applicable to you. Only for your knowledge, I told you. Then last, refund can be taken in this case also if permitted by the rule 50, by the section 54, read with rule 89. Last, that letter of undertaking in this case, it is not required. You are not required to submit the LUT in this case. So these are the main crux of the circular. Let's read one by one. The supply would be deemed to have been taken place on the expiry of the 6 months from the date of the removal, if the specified goods are either sold abroad or brought back within the said period. If the specified goods are sold abroad fully or partially within the specified period of 6 months, the supply is effected in respect of the quantity so sold. अगर आपने partial goods sale कर दिया वहां पर within 6 months, then you need to make the tax invoice for that. Correct? In that case, the sender shall issue the tax invoice in respect of the quantity of the specified goods which has been sold. When the specified goods have neither been sold nor brought back, then after the expiry of the 6 months, it will be considered as deemed supply. Correct? The sender shall issue the tax invoice. Okay. Now, the refund part is not being touched. It will be touched in the respective chapter. Now, the particular of the tax invoice, what should be the content of the tax invoice? Now, mostly you are aware. I'm asking the specific question whether the name of the state of the recipient is mandatory. If yes, in which case? मुझे किस केस में जीएस रिसिपिएंट का स्टेट लिखना पड़ेगा? टेल मी द प्लेस ऑफ द सप्लाई टू बी रिटर्न इन विच केसेज? In all cases, interstate, intra, or there may be the combination of the answer. If the value is up to this amount, if the value is more than this amount, please note there could be the multiple answer. 2-3 things I like to highlight. So before that, I like to ask, listen my question carefully. Please tell me all circumstances in which the supplier should mention the place of the supply. मुझे आपको वो सारे सर्कमस्टांसेस बताने, इसका आंसर एक नहीं होगा. इट हैज 2-3 सर्कमस्टांसेस जहां पर द प्लेस ऑफ द सप्लाई इज रिक्वायर्ड टू बी मेंशन्ड मैंडेटरली. दैट इज द क्वेश्चन. गिव द आंसर. आई एम गिविंग यू 1 minute. अशोक जी 2 मिनट का ब्रेक स्टार्ट कर दीजिएगा. नहीं. If you say that if it is interstate, चलो मैं एग्री करता हूं. What about the value? Based on the value, there is one condition. What about that condition? Based on the value, there is one condition. I have received this satisfactory answer from Yogesh. Try to understand if the recipient is unregistered and the value is rupees 50,000 or more, then it is mandatory required name of the state and the code. If the value is less than 50,000, then On request, it is required, otherwise not required. अगर वैल्यू 50,000 से नीचे है तो in that case it is not required if B2C transaction. In B2B, whether it is inter or intra, it is always required to be reported. Whether it is inter or intra, it is always required to be reported. In case of B2C supply, in case of B2C supply, if the value is less than 50,000, then on request we need to provide, otherwise it is not required. In case online money gaming, and along with online money gaming, they are saying supply made through e-commerce operator. Second, online money gaming, supply made through e-commerce operator. Third, OIDAR. In the three transaction, when the recipient is unregistered, then it is immaterial what is the value. It will always contain the name of the state. And my dear friend, name of the state shall be deemed to be the address recorded on the invoice, address in the record of the recipient. Now you know that why this word has been given. Can you please tell me why this word has been given? What is the requirement to add the word shall be deemed to be the address on the record? Do you know that why this word has been given deemed to be the address on the record? This is section 12, place of the supply chapter. This is section 12, subsection 2. And see, when it is general principle, general provision I'm talking about, when it is made to a person other than registered, then what is the place of the supply? The location of the recipient where the address on record exists. Address on record होना चाहिए. मैं किसी unregistered person को देता हूं. If I'm making the B2C supply and I do not have the address on the record, then my location will be considered as place of supply. So problem kya tha? The problem, they are not considering the name of the state as the address recorded, address on record. This word was problem. Therefore, they have added the term. They have added the term ki the name of the state of the recipient and the same shall be deemed to be the address on record. Why it is required? Because of the place of supply provision. Is that clear? Is that clear? See, next is HSN description, quantity, rate, amount, etc. Place of the supply along with name of the state if it is an interstate. Okay. Delivery address where the tax is payable on RCM, signature a digital signature, and not required in case of the issuance of the e-invoicing. Okay. How many digit of the HSN code is mandatory? Can you tell me what is the requirement for HSN code? How many digit of the HSN to be reported on the invoice? It is also being segregated based on the value, based on the amount, or based on the turnover. If it is up to 5 crore, then 4 digit. If it is more than 5 crore, then 6 digit. No, no. It is not 8. It is not 8 and 6. It is 4 and 6. 4-digit required in case if 4-digit required in case if the turnover, annual aggregate turnover, AATO, is more than is up to 5 crore, then 4-digit. And if it is more than 5 crore, then 6-digit. That's it. Now, in case if it is up to 5 crore, then B2C is optional. B2C is optional. At 5 crore, up to 5 crore in the preceding financial year, then I can say B2B 4-digit, B2C 4-digit. But B2C is optional. You may choose not to report the same. That is okay. And for more than 5 crore, it is B2B or B2C, it is always 6-digit. Okay. The supply of the goods, rule 48 talks about that if you are supplying the taxable goods, then invoice should be made in triplicate. One for recipient, one for transporter, one for supplier. And if it is a taxable supply of the service, then it should be made in duplicate. Invoice in case of the export of the goods or service. If you are exporting the goods, then your invoice should carry one endorsement. What is the endorsement? Supply meant for export / supply to SEZ unit or developer for authorized operation on payment of tax, integrated tax, or supply meant for export, SEZ for authorized payment under bond, letter of undertaking, etc. It is important to note that particular of export invoice are same as tax invoice. However, where the recipient is registered in values 50,000 or more, instead of the name of the state, in case of export, it will be the name of the country. Very simple. Correct? Now we are talking about e-invoicing. Can you please tell me e-invoicing is mandatory for which category of the taxpayer? Can you please tell me e-invoicing is mandatory for which category of the taxpayer? Which? Ah, okay. Now give me the answer of couple of questions and we'll read the provision. If it is more than 5 crore, in the preceding financial year, in the current financial year, or in any of the preceding financial year, which option you will choose? In current financial year, in preceding financial year, or in any of the preceding financial year? The answer is yes. All have given the correct answer. In any of the preceding financial year. In my current financial year, in October 2025, my aggregate turnover exceed 5 crore. Whether e-invoicing is applicable from November 25 or from next year. मैं रिपीट करता हूं. My turnover exceed 5 crore in the October 2025. Do I need to start preparing the invoice from November, or it is applicable from next year, next financial year? So all the participant has given the correct answer except one. According to that, it is November 25. No. In the current financial year, if the turnover exceed, then from next year e-invoicing would be applicable. Because the word is in any of the preceding financial year. Word is any of the preceding financial year. Now, next question. Is it for B2B or B2C? E-invoicing is made mandatory for B2B or B2C? The answer is B2B. Tell me, for export, is it mandatory or not? Because export is B2C. For export, is it mandatory or not? Because export is B2C. For export, is it mandatory or not? Because export is B2C. The answer is it is mandatory. So for B2B, it is mandatory, and for export, it is mandatory. For export, it is mandatory. There are some categories, okay. So that is the theory which you can read. If the turnover from 17-18 exceed 5 crore in any of the preceding financial year, then you will be required to issue the e-invoicing. So for example, if once my turnover cross 5 crore, if my turnover cross 5 crore, then I will always under the ambit of e-invoicing lifetime. Is the statement correct? अगर मेरे किसी भी एक साल में क्रॉस हो गया, तो उसके अगले साल से लाइफ टाइम तक मुझे ई इनवॉइसिंग बनाना पड़ेगा फॉर दैट जीएसटी नंबर, फ्रॉम दैट जीएसटी नंबर. इज माई स्टेटमेंट करेक्ट? Answer is yes, it is correct. And it is applicable for B2B and for export. Currently, B2C supply does not fall under the e-invoicing requirement. All the invoice issued by the notified person, that is okay. So tell me one important thing for 9.3. If I am registered advocate and my turnover is 10 crore and you are my recipient who is recipient of service and paying the tax under reverse charge, will I issue the tax invoice or you will prepare self invoice? My annual aggregate turnover is more than 10 crore. I will issue the tax invoice. You will prepare self invoice. Answer is no, you will not prepare self invoice because I am registered in the GST. So in this case, will I also prepare e-invoicing or e-invoicing is not applicable for RC? So I am advocate registered in the GST, issuing the tax invoice, but you are paying the tax on the reverse charge. Do I need to prepare the e-invoicing also? Answer is yes. Whether it is forward charge or whether it is reverse charge, from the supplier point of view, if the turnover exceed 5 crore in any of the preceding financial year, then in that case, it is mandatorily e-invoice. Correct? Now the second question. Fine, no problem. Now the second question. Let's say you being a recipient, I am unregistered advocate. My turnover is 10 crore. Do I need to take mandatory registration? Exclusively under RCM. My supply is exclusively covered under RCM. Recipient will pay the tax on 10 crore rupees. Do I need to pay the do I need to take registration mandatorily? No, sir. It is not required because we have discussed the exemptions. Okay. Now, will the invoicing is applicable on me if I'm unregistered? Do I need to prepare invoicing? Answer is no, because obviously invoicing would be applicable to the registered supplier only. Invoice, see, GST, any provision except some provision in books of accounts. Almost all the provisions are applicable for registered person only. Some are for taxable person like penalty, etc. Some are for unregistered, that is books of accounts. But otherwise, agar invoicing, if I talk about, it is applicable to the registered person only. Fine. So I'm unregistered advocate. You are paying the tax under RCM. Will you prepare the self invoice? Will you prepare the self invoice? Answer is yes. Will you prepare invoicing? Will you prepare invoice? Will you prepare invoice? Please note, e-invoice is applicable for outward supply. E-invoice is not applicable for inward supply. E-invoice is applicable for outward supply. E-invoice is not applicable for inward supply, even though it is fall under RCM. Okay. I hope this sentence is clear. If the invoice issued by the notified person in respect of the supply made by him, tax on which payable under RCM, e-invoicing is applicable. I hope it is clear. This sentence is from supplier point of view. This sentence is not from recipient point of view. Now, there are certain categories of the person or entities. Point to be noted, the entities are exempted from e-invoicing. Entities are exempted from e-invoicing. SEZ unit, please note, mostly the SEZ unit and developer are always come together. SEZ unit जहां पे भी हम बात करते हैं, they are adding the SEZ unit / developer or developer. This is the first place where I can see they have created the difference between the unit and developer. So only SEZ unit are exempted. If I'm insurance or banking company or FI financial institution including NBFC, exempted. GTA, supplying the service of the transportation of goods by road. Passenger transportation service. Person supplying the service by way of admission to the exhibition or cinematographic film in the multiplex screen. Government department or local authority. Thus, above entities are not required to issue e-invoicing even if the turnover exceeds 5 crore. Correct. Now tell me one thing. I am registered person under regular category. My turnover is more than 5 crore. If I make the supply to the SEZ developer, I am very much clear that I am not required to issue the e-invoicing. Sorry, I am required to issue the invoicing. Now tell me, my sale made to the SEZ unit. I am making the sale to SEZ unit. Now, will I prepare e-invoicing or not required? Why invoicing required? See, the second point will clarify 1 minute. Invoicing is required or not? See, again, same point. These exemption are for the outward supplies made by SEZ unit, made by insurance. It is not talking about, it is not talking about the exemption from recipient point of view. If they are recipient, always the supplier has to make the invoicing. If the supplier is SEZ unit, banking company, GTA, etc., then invoicing is not applicable. Point number one. Supply to SEZ is an export. Whether supply to SEZ is an export, technically, no. Please note, whether supply to SEZ is export, wrong sentence. Wrong sentence. Wrong term. Because when you say the export, when you say the export, is it deemed export? Please note, supply to the SEZ unit or developer is neither export nor deemed export. It is a zero rated supply. What is the difference in that? Because if I will use the term export, then all the condition of section 2, clause 5, 10, 11 has to be satisfied. But if I'm supplying to the SEZ unit, is it an export? Answer is no. It is zero rated supplies. It is zero rated supplies. तो टेक देखो, मैं ब्रॉडली अगर बात करूं तो कोई डिफरेंस नहीं है. बट जब हम सीए फाइनल में डिस्कस कर रहे हैं, वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट वेरी माइन्यूटली एंड वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट the point technical importance of every term. Then in that case, I should not write the word export. Yes, the word is zero rated is correct, and the deemed export is absolutely wrong. Deemed export word is absolutely wrong, because deemed export is only for transaction supply to the, quickly tell me the name of the 4 transactions which are considered as deemed export, which are considered as deemed export. So technically, I have just corrected, but conceptually, you and me both are on the same page. Tell me the name of the 4 transactions which are considered as deemed export. Please tell me the name of the 4 transactions which are considered as deemed export. No. Goods sent on approval, not brought back in India within 6 months? No. I'm talking about the deemed export transactions. There are 4 categories of the transactions which are considered as deemed export. First, supplies made to the export-oriented unit. Second, supply of the goods against advance authorization license. Third, supply of the capital goods against EPCG license. Fourth, supply of the gold by bank or PSU against advance authorization. These are the only 4 transactions to whom you can say the deemed export. Please never use the word deemed export for any other transaction, because deemed export, you need to pay the tax first and take the refund. Whereas you can make the zero rated supply export and SEZ under LUT without payment of tax. Is that clear to all? Is that clear to all? ठीक है. So एक बार 10 मिनट का ब्रेक लेते हैं, then we will resume again. We will take the break of 10 minutes and then we will resume again. Sir, thank you. we were talking about that we have discussed. Leave it. Now the one question which is being asked, and suppose I am a bank, okay, and I am supplying the banking service for which we do not require the e-invoicing that has been discussed already. But let's say I am making the sale of gold, bullion, jewelry. In that case, do I, being a bank, need to prepare the e-invoicing? That was very confusing statement or confusing among the trade. Then CBIC has given the clarification that the exemption is for the entire entity. It is not for the transaction wise. Means if you are the banking company, whether you provide the service of the banking or you provide the sale of any goods, no e-invoicing is applicable for your entire organization. I hope it is clear. Then one important rule is Rule 48.4 and Rule 48.5. Rule 48.4 normally talks about that invoicing shall be prepared by the notified class of the person, which we have discussed, uploading the particular on the INV1. Let me show you the invoicing government portal as well. This is the e-invoicing government portal which is being developed by NIC. Okay. So you can log into that particular e-invoicing and then you can prepare the same. E-invoicing is as we discussed, it is applicable for more than 5 crore. If it is less than 5 crore, you cannot make the e-invoicing as of now. Okay. Then you need to prepare the INV1. So there is a notified portal, e-invoicing. This is like e-invoice 1, correct? Similarly, there would be e-invoice 2 also. Government has notified 10 portal for preparation of e-invoicing. This is the government portal, correct? And you need to submit the detail. You need to submit the detail for preparation of e-invoicing. When you prepare the e-invoicing, there could be the two way. Either you can go to the website invoicing.gst.gov.in, fill the detail and generate the invoicing. In that also, you can go through offline utility. In the offline utility, you will submit the details. In the offline utility, you will submit the details and then can prepare the invoicing. Third is the next possibility or mechanism by way, says for example, I have taken the any GSP API by which what will happen, like I'm using the Tele, like I'm using the Clear. So they have integrated with the invoicing portal. Whenever I will pass the accounting entry in Tally, they are migrated, my data will flow to the invoice portal and my invoice would be generated. That generated e-invoice is called as INV01. That invoice called as INV01. So whenever any participant is wrong, I will never use the name. And I just clarify the concept. I hope it is clear to everyone. But agar aap correct hai, to I really appreciate because it will feel good to me also. Now, e-invoicing would be like, this is QR code that when you push the data, then they will provide you the output as QR code. You can attach the QR code. What is the time limit to prepare the invoice? What is the time limit to prepare the invoice? The time limit to prepare the invoice is okay, Ayush मैं कंफर्म करता हूं. Just allow me 1 minute. What is the time limit to prepare the invoice? What is the time limit to prepare the invoice? The time limit to prepare the e-invoice is same time. It's not that you can prepare the tax invoice right now, and later on you can submit the detail. No. Read the rule 48 sub rule 5, which clearly says that e-invoicing should be on the real time basis. अगर e-invoice applicable है, आपने e-invoice नहीं बनाया, in that case, it will be treated that you have not prepared the invoice at all. All the consequence may come. Means like recipient ka ITC might be question marked. Penalty can be raised on the supplier for movement of the goods without the cover of tax invoice. Agar e-invoicing applicable hai, then it has to be prepared on the same time. But GST portal, Goods and Service Tax Network, has issued the advisory time to time that initially it was more than 100 crore. Now it is more than 10 crore. If you are having the more than 10 crore, then they have given some relaxation. If it is below 10 crore, see, if you have the turnover more than 10 crore, then e-invoice has to be prepared within 30 days. पहले ये लिमिट कितनी थी? 100 crore थी. But that is only GST network advisory. That is neither GST Act nor the GST rules. If I talk about the rule, it has to be prepared on the same time. It cannot have any gap. So cancellation or amendment of reported invoice, you can cancel, seller can cancel the IRN for invoicing already reported by reporting it on IRP within the specified time. What is the specified time? What is the specified time? 24 hours. Can you make the amendment on the e-invoice? No. Once e-invoice is generated, once e-way bill is generated, both are same in this manner. Cancellation and amendment both are same behave. You cannot cancel the e-way bill after the specified time limit. Next, you cannot amend the e-invoice. You cannot amend the e-way bill once you generated. You whatever you like to correct. If you e-invoice generated, suppose GST number is wrong. Suppose value is wrong, then you need to make the correction in the GSTR1 only. Invoice schema. So Ayush has asked the question. He needs the clarity that all e-invoice called as INV1 or just the API one. No, all e-invoice is called as INV1. That is a format in which your output should be looks like, whether you generate online directly on the government portal or go through offline utility or go through API or go through any integration with the GSP. Outcome will be in this manner only, and which is called as INV1. हमेशा outcome ऐसा ही होगा. You can, मतलब placement can be different, but INV1 will be required for all the categories, all the transactions. That is why not able to find the timelines. मैं वापस क्लियर करता हूं. I hope it is clear. The timeline is not given in the law. The timeline is not given in the act. It is only by the GST advisory, which is neither part of the law nor part of act. Correct? राइट गीत, करेक्ट ना? हाँ, ये क्लियर है सभी को? these are the these are the IRP, invoice registration portal. Give me 1 minute. These are the IRP for uploading or reporting the invoice. E-invoice 1, I have shown you that there are 10 portal available. IRN. What is IRN? GST invoice will be valid only if they have the valid IRN. This is an example of IRN. Oh my God, we are not able to understand. IRN is a unique 64 character. IRN is the 64 character which contain the tax invoice number. Some they have the multiple character and it will be unique generated by. It is also called as hash. Okay. Generated and written by the IRP on successful registration of e-invoicing. Other point, the e-invoicing system is also applicable for the ECO. Bulk uploading is also available. CBS is clarified that there is no requirement to carry the physical copy of the tax invoice where e-invoice has been generated by the supplier. Whenever e-invoice has generated production of the QR code having an embedded IRN number for validation of the proper officer would suffice. What is the QR code? See, there's a difference between the QR code and dynamic QR code. Correct? If I will use the only term QR code, means we are talking about invoice. Upon successful registration of an invoice on IRP, it will return the signed e-invoice to the supplier with IRN and QR code. IRN is embedded in the QR code, which shall be extracted and printed on the invoice. This is looks like an QR code. The QR code enable quick view, validation and access of the invoice on the GST from handheld devices. The digital signed QR code will have the unique IRN, which can be verified on the central portal also, GST portal. The QR code consists of GSTN of the supplier, recipient, invoice number, date, invoice value, number of the item, HSN code, unique reference number, date of generation, etc. Whether e-invoicing is applicable to the government department or PSU registered only for the purpose of deduction of tax as per the provision of section 51. The answer is yes. They are saying that if I have made the supply to the government who is registered only for the purpose of TDS, but it is registered in the GST, then it is called as registered person. And therefore, the supply is made to the government, even though that they are registered only for the purpose of TDS. Only for the purpose of TDS, it become the B2B supplies. And once it becomes the B2B supply, then e-invoicing is applicable. Let's read the provision. The issue which arose for consideration was whether invoicing is applicable for the supplies made to the registered person whose turnover exceeds the prescribed limit to the supplies made to the government department or establishment, government agency, etc. It is clarified that government department or establishment or government agency, local authority are liable for compulsory registration in section 24, and therefore the government department who is registered only for the purpose of TDS are also to be treated as a registered person. Accordingly, the person whose turnover exceeds the prescribed limit for generation of invoice is required to issue the e-invoice as per the rule 48 sub rule 4. What is the dynamic QR code? Dynamic QR code applicable on B2B supply? No. For which the normal e-invoicing is applicable. Other than that, the dynamic QR code would be applicable. Dynamic QR code would be applicable on B2B? No. B2B के लिए आपने e-invoice बना दिया, export e-invoice बना दिया. In that case, For the B2C supplies, the dynamic QR code would be applicable. And applicable as of now, they have kept the limit is very, very high. If the turnover exceed 500 crore, then dynamic QR code is applicable. Sixth proviso to the Rule 46 has empowered the government that they shall have the QR code. Resultant, it has been notified that invoice issued by the registered person whose aggregate turnover exceed 500 crore in respect of B2C supplies shall have the dynamic QR code. The purpose of this provision is to enable and encourage the digital payment where buyer can scan the dynamic QR code and make the payment directly. See, what is the difference in the QR code and dynamic QR code? See, whenever you go to any shop, they provide the QR code, and if you scan that QR code, then you need to enter manually the amount. Correct? But if you go to like petrol pump, if you go to the big hospitals, or let's say Ola Uber, they are showing the QR code. That is not the QR, that is dynamic QR code. And once you scan that QR code, automatically the amount will appear on the screen. It will take the amount exactly the equal to the invoice value. Do you need to enter the amount? No, we are not required to enter the amount. It means dynamic QR code is customized QR code which is linked to the invoice. Okay. For each invoice, there would be the separate dynamic QR code. Today, many shops have the static QR code at that payment I have explained to you. So, non-applicability of the dynamic QR code. Tell me, is it different? Is it different or same from the exemption list of the QR code? Is it different or same which we discussed the list of the exemption available to the e-invoice? What is the difference? I like to listen from you. कुछ तो डिफरेंस है कुछ तो डिफरेंस है अगर मैं कहूं कि समथिंग देयर इज अ डिफरेंट फाइंड आउट द डिफरेंस मैं पैरेलली ओपन कर देता हूं इट विल बी इजी फॉर अस टू डू द कंपैरिजन whether SEZ unit are covered in this whether SEZ unit are covered in this no it means invoicing would be exempted for supply made by the SEZ unit supply made by the SEZ unit but whether dynamic QR code is exempted for SEZ unit no then insurance, GTA, passenger, exhibition, insurance, bank, GTA, passenger, exhibition. And what is the next? Supply of OIDAR service. Is it covered in the e-invoicing list? Is the OIDAR covered in the e-invoicing list? Answer is no. It is not covered. Second difference. It means SEZ are covered in the invoicing exemption, but not in the dynamic QR code. Same. Government or department or local authority are exempted in the invoicing but not in dynamic QR code. Third, that dynamic QR code is also being exempted to the OIDAR but it is not there in the list of exemption given to the invoicing. These are the three differences. Whether export invoicing would be applicable? Yes. Whether dynamic QR code would be applicable? No. parameter or details to be captured in the dynamic QR code. Supplier GST number, UPI ID, pay bank account, and IFC invoice number, date, etc. Compliance with the dynamic error circular. I would request everyone to read that clarification which has been given by the CBIC from time to time. That is the normal which you can read. Now we are talking about any question? Correct. SEZ and government not here and OIDA is extra. Absolutely correct. Now let's talk about Rule 53. So that we have discussed. Correct. Give me 1 minute only. Give me 1 minute. एक मिनट दीजिएगा मुझे खाली. Then let me talk about it second. So what is the content on the revised invoice? It will be same. Revised invoice exactly same as Rule 46. Name, address, GST number, consecutive serial number not exceeding 16 character. Okay, tell me one thing. Assume that today is 1st April 2025. Assume that today is 1st April 2025. My last number was 489 on 31st March. Can I issue the invoice 490 from 1st April, or is it mandatory to start with the one? मेरा 489 लास्ट इनवॉइस नंबर था ऑन 31st March 2025. On 1st April, can I use the numbering starting from 490 or mandatorily I have to start with the one? Yes, absolutely correct, Yogesh. Sanjay, thank you so much. It is only required that the number should be unique for a financial year. That's it. Can the 490 in the current year and 490 in the last year is okay? Can the 490 in the current year and 490 in the last year is okay? क्या ऐसा हो सकता है मैं नंबरिंग 489 से स्टार्ट कर लूं? Is it possible that I can start the numbering from the 489 which was also in the last financial year? Answer is yes. Correct, Yogesh. Because it says that uniqueness should be for a particular financial year. It means number should not be used again. Number should not be used again in the current financial year. If it is in the other financial year, no problem. You can use from the 489 also, no issue. The 490 can be in the last year, no problem. The only requirement that number should be unique. That's it. Date of the document, name, address, GST number, name, address, recipient, serial number, etc. Any invoice or date in pursuance of the tax payable in accordance with 74, 129, and 130 shall be prominently contain the word input tax credit not admissible. Now, for your applicability, there is only section 74 capital A, not 73, 74. ठीक है. No tax invoice required if to be issued for the, see, try to read this one. Fourth proviso to the rule 46. Give me 1 minute. Let's read the rule from my PPT. By this, it will be very confusing. We are reading the rule from my PPT. So this PPT I will share with all of you. एक मिनट दीजिए. Okay, this is for I have not covered that rule. No problem. We'll continue with this. So if the value is less than 200, then according to the fourth proviso to the rule 46, it says that if value is less than 200, recipient is B2C, and the recipient does not require the invoice, does not require the invoice. In that case, you can issue the consolidated tax invoice for monthly, no, daily. The fourth proviso to the rule 46 says that consolidation is permissible, but that should be for each day, not month, not week, quarter, etc. Then rule 49, which talks about the content of content of bill of supply. The content of the bill of the supply, what is the name, address, GST number. Will there be tax amount also on the bill of supply? क्या tax amount भी होगा ना? Answer is no, because either it will be issued for exempted supply, or it is issued by the composition dealer who are not authorized to collect the tax. Therefore, it will not have the GST component on the document. Rest other thing like name, address, GST number, consecutive serial number, date of issue, name, address, GST number if recipient is registered, HSN code, description, value, signature, digital signature. ठीक है. Invoice come bill of supply is possible. Yes, possible. If my customer is unregistered. If my customer is unregistered, not registered, it is unregistered, and I am making the taxable and as well as exempted supply to unregistered person, single document invoice cum bill of supply may be issued. Invoice cum bill of supply may be issued. Rule 46 capital A is starting with notwithstanding anything contained in Rule 46, that is normal tax invoice. Rule 49 that we have just discussed regarding the bill of supply, and Rule 54 invoice in case of special circumstances. The said single invoice cum bill of the supply shall contain the particular as specified in the Rule 46, 54, 49. Receipt voucher. Receipt voucher, we know that it will be for the advance payment, and what would be the content? Name, consecutive serial number, date, name and address if registered is, if recipient is registered, description, amount of the advance taken, the rate of the taxes, amount of the taxes, place of the supply, and whether tax is payable under RCM, signature and digital signature. Kindly confirm one thing, that if I am issuing the receipt voucher to the registered person for supply of service, can my recipient be able to take the ITC, because I am mentioning the tax as well? Whether my recipient would be able to take the ITC on the basis of the receipt voucher? The answer is no. Why no? Because receipt voucher is not the tax invoice. Second, it will never appear in the GSTR 2B. It will never appear in the GSTR 2B. ठीक है. Where the tax is payable under reverse charge basis, that is okay. When where at any time of the receipt of advance, if the tax is not determinable, then you will assume at 18%. If the nature of the supply is not determinable, then you will assume the interstate supply. In case of the refund voucher, when I have received the advance from customer and I could not complete the supply, I have to return this money, then I will issue the refund voucher. What should be the content? It will also the same. Name, address, GSTN number, consecutive serial number, date of issue, name, address of the recipient, GSTN number, name and date of the receipt voucher, description, amount of the refund, rate of the taxes, amount of the taxes paid, whether taxes payable and reverse charge, etc. Invoice and payment voucher. As we talked about, now here we need to give some focus. The recipient is liable to pay the tax on RCM where he received the supply of goods or service both which are notified for 9(3). Such supply can be received from the registered or unregistered supplier. Okay. Further, the builder or promoter, any idea about the 9(4)? Can you give me whether 9(4) is applicable to which type of the transaction? Can you give me the applicability of reverse charge under section 9 subsection 4? That is on the promoter developer. The promoter developer real estate sector are brought into the ambit of 9 subsection 4. The real estate sectors are brought into the ambit of 9 subsection 4. By which we can say the builder or promoter developer 80% has to be purchased from the registered party, rest 20 can be from unregistered party. If there is a shortfall, then they have to pay the tax and the reverse charge. Same cement 100% from registered party. If anything from unregistered, it will be under RCM. And capital goods 100% from registered party. If any capital goods is being purchased, then the tax will be payable under RCM. Then self-invoice will be prepared. Content of the self-invoice would be same as per the rule 46. And in case when the payment is being made by the recipient to the supplier, then content of the payment voucher will be like this: name, address, GSTN number, consecutive serial number, date of issue, name, address, GSTN number, description, amount paid, rate of the tax, amount of the tax payable, place of the supply, signature, etc. Delivery challan. Now the delivery challan would be issued in 4 circumstances. Delivery challan would be issued in 4 circumstances. What are the 4 circumstances? Supply of the liquid gas, where the supply of the liquid gas, where the quantity at the time of removal from the place of the business is not, where the quantity at the time of the removal from the place of the business of the supplier is not known. So, मतलब क्या होगा? I will use the delivery challan. I will use the delivery challan to move the goods. I will use the delivery challan to move the goods if supply is of the liquid gas, but quantity is not known at the time of movement. ठीक है. Transportation of goods for job worker, I will prepare the delivery challan. If I'm sending the goods to the job worker, is it a supply? Answer is no, it is not a supply. Then third is transportation of goods for region other than value of the supply. It is very broad. It is very broad. Why it is very broad? Everything is being covered. So let's say I am sending the goods sales on approval. At the time of the removal, is it a supply? No. Then I will use the delivery challan. Where it is written? It is written in the third point. It is covered in the point number 3. Transportation of goods for reason other than supply. I am sending the goods to out of India for exhibition purpose. Circular 108. Which document I will prepare? Delivery challan. then such other supply as may be notified by the board. Okay. Now, what should be the description? Delivery challan should be, everything is same. Most of the requirement is same. 16 digit, one or multiple serial number at the time of the removal of the goods for transportation, date and number of the delivery challan, name, address, GSTN number, name, address, GSTN of the consignor, consignee, HSN code, quantity, taxable value, and please underline this word. Please underline this word. Now you need to remember this. Tax rate and tax amount. Will it always be reported? Check the language. Tax rate and tax amount, where the transportation is for supply to the consignee. If it is a supply, will I prepare the tax invoice or will I prepare the delivery challan? अगर मैं goods move कर रहा हूं and which is a supply, will I prepare the delivery challan or will I prepare the tax invoice? As per my understanding, which is based on the section 31, as per the understanding derived from section 31, there will always be the tax invoice. But then why it is required? It is only one place. If you go to the rule 55 sub rule 4, if you go to the rule 55 sub rule 4, small relaxation, that because of any reason, if you could not make the tax invoice at the time of removal of the goods, no jewelry, no, that is clear. That is clear from here that you can prepare the delivery challan because you're sending the goods for exhibition. Is it a supply? Answer is no, it is not a supply. Then when it will come, I am sharing my understanding. If my transportation is for the supply, then always tax invoice will be prepared. But there could be the possibility, as per the, if you go to the rule 55 sub rule 4, 1 second. Yes, this one. If the goods being transported are for the purpose of the supply, still government has given the relaxation by way of the rule 55 sub rule 4. But the tax invoice could not be issued at the time of the removal because of any reason. System was not working, there was a internet stop, anything. Then you can move the goods on the basis of the delivery challan, and on that delivery challan you need to mention the tax mandatorily, and the supplier can issue the tax invoice after delivery of the goods. Is it clear to all? ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट है, थोड़ा सा समझ में नहीं आता कि कब. हाँ, अगर गुड्स में सीकेडी या एसकेडी कंडीशन में दे रहा हूं या बैच में दे रहा हूं या लॉट्स में दे रहा हूं. फॉर एग्जांपल मैंने एक टैक्स इनवॉइस बना दिया एंड आई एम सेंडिंग द गुड्स इन द लॉट, और there is a one big plant and machinery which cannot be sent in one truck. There is one tax invoice, but this big plant and machinery has to be divided in part and to be sent in the 3-4 trucks. How to move the goods? Because there is only a single tax invoice. The process are being mentioned. The process are being mentioned in the rule, rule 55 sub rule 5. It says that supplier shall issue the complete invoice before dispatch of the first consignment. Clear? Supplier shall issue the delivery challan for each of the subsequent consignment, but giving the reference of the invoice. Okay? The copies of the corresponding delivery challan shall accompany each consignment along with the duly certified copy of the tax invoice, and the original copy shall be sent in the last consignment. These are the process. Okay. Goods may be moved within the state from the moved within the state or from one to the another state for sales on approval, and artwork may be sent by the artist to the gallery for exhibition on the delivery challan along with e-way bill wherever applicable. Now, Geet, whatever your point is saying, it is come here. It is additional clarification given by the CBIC. Supplier of the jewelry who are registered in one state may have to visit the other state and need to carry the goods along with approval, along for approval. In such case, if the jewelry is approved by the buyer, then supplier issue the tax invoice at the time of supply. Since the supplier are not able to ascertain the actual supplies before and while ascertaining the tax liability in advance is mandatory requirement for registration as a casual taxable person. Very important line. See, I am registered in Delhi, but I'm taking the jewelry and going to Haryana for showing it to the buyer. But the supplier are not able to ascertain the actual supply जब मैं इसको हरियाणा में लेके जा रहा हूं. And we all know that casual taxable person need to pay the tax on advance. Can you tell me? Along with casual taxable person, there is one more category of the person who required to pay the tax on advance. NRTP. ठीक है, नॉन रेसिडेंट टैक्सेबल पर्सन. The supplier is not able to register as a casual taxable person. Such goods are also carried non-resident taxable person. मेरे क्वेश्चन का आंसर था. And such goods are also carried within the same state for the purpose. In view of the relevant provision of the Rule 55, it is clarified that goods which are taken for supply on approval can be moved from the place of the registered supplier to the another place within the state or outside the state on the basis of the DC, along with e-way bill wherever applicable. And invoice may be issued for such supply. Invoice may be issued at the time of delivery. For the purpose, the person carrying the goods for such supply can carry the invoice book with him and he can issue the invoice once the supply is completed. Likewise, in case where the artist supply artwork in the different state other than the state in which they are registered, and if the artwork is selected by the buyer, then the supplier will issue the tax invoice, and at the time of supply, it is clarified that artwork can be moved from the place of the business to the another place within the state or outside the state, along with e-way bill if applicable. That is being clarified by the circular 22. So now let's take a break of another 10 minutes and we will resume from here and then we'll complete the balance part. Last 15 minutes will be the quick rounds of question answer as we do in the normal every class and be there till last. I hope it is clear. अशोक जी 10 मिनट का ब्रेक स्टार्ट कर दीजिए. Ayush, NRTP is a non-resident taxable person. Correct. अच्छा, you have given the answer. अशोक जी. We have talked about the rule 55. एक second. Okay, now let me discuss for accounts and records, then EV bill. So give me 1 minute. One second. See, we have also the provision related to e-way bill as well. So, and we have not touched upon. Let me go to that particular. So again, I can say the delivery challan, content of the delivery challan would be same, which we have discussed. Delivery challan would also be prepared in the triplicate copy, original for consignee, duplicate for transporter, triplicate for consigner. Declaration in the e-way bill, CKD, SKD we have discussed. Yes, we were talking about this particular part. Supplier permitted to issue any document other than tax invoice. Rule 54. See, government on the recommendation of the council by notification and subject to the condition as may be mentioned therein specify the category of the goods in respect of which services any other document in relation to the supply shall be deemed to be the tax invoice, or tax invoice may not be issued. Correct. So what are the documents they have given? If you are insurance, banking company, financial institution, NBFC, then optional information, serial number and address of the recipient is the optional. What is the mandatory? Other information other than serial number and address. इन दो बातों को छोड़कर whatever it is being required, it is mandatory. ठीक है. Customer may avail the numerous service from the bank in given the tax period. Such entity may issue the consolidated tax invoice. Rule 54 allow the issue the consolidated tax invoice in case of the banking company and any other document in lieu thereof by whatever name called, made available physically, electronically for the supplies made during the month. However, the signature, digital signature shall not be required in case of consolidated tax invoice or any other document. If the signature is being made in accordance with Information Technology Act, that is digital signature. Now the GTA. GTA may have the document instead of the tax invoice, like we normally call as lorry receipt. We normally called as consignment note. What are the information is required? Gross weight, name of the consigner, registration number of the goods carriage, details of the goods transported, details of the place of the origin and destination, GST and number of the person liable to pay the tax, whether as consigner or consignee or GTA, other information as may be required for tax invoice. If the supplier is passenger transportation service, in that case, serial number is optional, address is optional. Now the tax invoice shall include ticket in any form by whatever name called. Other information, serial number, address as prescribed for the rule 46, other than the serial number and address. So serial number address is optional, but other information, whatever it is being required under rule 46, it is mandatory. However, signature or digital signature shall not be required in case of issuance of the ticket in accordance with the provision of the IT Act. Okay. Service by way of admission of cinematographic film in multiplex screen. What is the optional? Details of the recipient of service. What is required? Supplier is required to issue the electronic ticket and the said ticket will be deemed to be the tax invoice. Other information mandatory. In case of the ISD, okay, we have discussed the provision with respect to ISD in detail in the ITC chapter, but these are the content. Content would be same. Okay. And if you are engaged, if supplier is engaged in the transportation of goods, then sorry, rule 55 sub rule is 55 capital A says that person in charge means driver of the conveyance shall carry the copy of the tax invoice or bill of supply in accordance with the rule 46, 46A or 49 in case where the person is not required to carry the e-way bill under these rules. If there is any relaxation, then you are not required to carry the e-way bill, then in that case it become mandatory. Credit note and debit note. Let me ask you some question for the credit note, debit note. First important question. What is the last date to issue the debit note? What is the last date to issue the debit note? Very nice. What is the last date to issue the what is the last date to issue the invoice? Sorry, debit note. There is no last date to issue the debit note because by way of the issue of the debit note, are we paying the tax to the government or supplier is reducing the tax liability? Whether supplier is paying the taxes to the government or supplier is reducing the taxes. Supplier is increasing the tax or decreasing the tax? He is paying the tax. So there will no last date for debit note. If there is a delay, you need to discharge the liability along with interest. You need to discharge the liability along with interest. Okay. Now my question, what is the last date to issue that credit note? What is the last date to issue the credit note? Word याद रखना, issue बोला है मैंने. Please note that I have used the word issue. Okay, you are saying 30th November. You are saying 30th November or annual return, whichever is earlier, 30th November following the end of the financial year. ठीक है. But please note the time limit which is written in the law. The time limit which is written in the law is for declaration. Is for declaration. Meaning thereby, if I'm a monthly supplier, I am filing the GSTR 13B monthly. So late to late, it could be of 31st October. Late to late, the date of the credit note could be of the 31st October, so that when we file the GSTR 1 in the November, that will be for which period? October. So maximum last date to issue the credit note, if it is monthly supplier, then it is 31st October. Do you agree with this? Any doubt? Last date to issue max to max आप कब तक कर सकते हैं? You can issue max to max by 31st October, because otherwise the GST return which you filed in the month of November will not accept, apart from October date. Say for example, if you are filing the November month return, it will not accept the November date, because the November return is for the month of October, so it can accept till 31st October ka date. So therefore I am saying कि last date to issue the credit note will be 31st October. But in exam, when you write, please do not write the word issue. Always use the word declare. Nothing. So you are not required to go into the permutation combination of monthly, QRMP, etc. Simply when you write the last date, please use the word declare, not issue. ठीक है, इतना सा आप ध्यान रखना, मिस्टेक हो सकती है. Now, my customer is not making the payment to me. Can I issue the credit note to my customer? My customer is not ready to make the payment. It is a bad debt. Can I issue the credit note? Can I issue the credit note? See, if he's not making the payment, then I will issue the credit note, right? Answer is no. Thank you, Geet. Thank you, Sanjay. Yogesh and Ayush. Answer is no. Why no? Because there are only four circumstances in which I can reduce my liability by issuing the credit note. First is the taxable value is being charged extra in the tax invoice. The tax rate is being charged extra in the tax invoice. The goods or service found to be deficit. Fourth, goods has been returned by my customer. There are only four circumstances. The taxable value is high, tax is high, goods or service found to be deficit, or service goods has been returned. Where it is written? In the 34 subsection 1. When the tax invoice found to exceed the taxable value, tax payable, or goods are returned, or goods or service are found to be deficit. These are the four circumstances in which the credit note can be issued. Is that clear to all? Apart from that, you cannot issue the credit note. Now, can I reduce my liability in the credit note? See, very, very important point. The reduction in the output tax liability shall be permitted if the incidence of the tax has been passed to any other person. Now, the meaning of incidence of the tax passed to any other person, it means when I collected the tax from the customer. It says that no reduction is permitted. मतलब क्या हुआ? अगर वो अपनी ITC रिवर्स नहीं करता, in that case I cannot reverse my liability. Are you getting my point? This is not happening in the GST portal. That is okay. So recently they've introduced the concept of invoice management system. In future, it might be made applicable, but currently, if I'm a supplier, I am reporting the credit note, my liability get reduced. Whether my recipient has reversed the ITC, not reversed the ITC, it is immaterial. But what is the law requirement? Law is very clear. It says if the incidence of the tax has been passed, I have collected the tax from the customer, then I cannot reduce my liability. I can reduce my liability only if the incidence has not been passed. How the incidence will not be passed? He, being a recipient, need to reverse the input tax credit. Now, regarding the debit note, where one or more tax invoice has been issued of any goods or services, the taxable value or tax found to be less, then the supplier may issue the debit note. One point. Now, one more important point. I have the 100 tax invoice and I'm giving you the credit note. Do I need to issue credit note for each tax invoice separately, or I can issue one credit note? The answer is one credit note is allowed. Absolutely correct, Yogesh, Keith, Ayush. It says that why they have added the word or more. On 1st Feb 2019, I'm talking about. On 1st Feb 2019, they have made the amendment and added the word or more. Similarly, they have added the word or more. At two places they have added. Meaning thereby, there is 100 tax invoice, I can issue one credit note. There is a one tax invoice, I can issue multiple credit note. If there is one tax invoice, I can issue multiple credit note. The linking one-to-one tax invoice and credit note has been delinked by the law. And therefore, now the one-to-one requirement is not there. I can use in any combination whatever I want. Similar things is for debit note. You see the word or more tax invoice and or more debit note. One-to-one relation has been delinked, has been removed. Shall declare the details in the month in which it has been issued, and if I'm declaring the same after the month in which I'm issued, then I have to pay the interest. Issuance of the credit note, that is okay. We have discussed this. We have discussed this part also. We have discussed this. Procedure in respect of the time expired medicine or drugs. That was very, I think, very beneficial circular. It says that, let's say I'm a manufacturing company of pharmaceutical and Mr. A is the dealer or distributor. Okay. It is a common trade practice in the pharmaceutical sector that the drugs or medicine are sold by the manufacturer to the wholesaler and by the wholesaler to the retailer on the basis of the invoice or bill of supply, as the case may be. Such goods have been defined a life term, which is normally referred to as the date of expiry. Goods which has been crossed the date of the expiry are referred to as time expired goods or time expired medicine, and that Mr. A need to return the same to the manufacturer on account of the expiry. Now, what is the process of returning the goods to the time expired? In case the return of the time expired medicine, either of the two options can be followed. Option number one, it will be treated as fresh supply. My dear friends, please note, this is somehow the beneficial circular which says that. See, now tell me one thing. I have made the supply to you in the year 24-25. Now you have returned the goods to me on 1st December 25. Can I issue the credit note? Can I issue the credit note? Answer is no. I cannot issue the credit note because time is already. But the circular says that now you can treat the same as a fresh supply. Is there any time limit to issue the tax invoice? That it has to be sold within time. The goods has to be sold within such prescribed time limit only, and after that you cannot make a sale. Is there any prescribed time limit कि भाई goods इतने time में sale हो जाना चाहिए, इसके बाद आप sale नहीं कर सकते और tax invoice issue नहीं कर सकते? It is not like that. And this circular has accepted that time expired medicine can be treated as fresh supply. Returning the goods, you can treat the same as fresh supply. A registered person, he may at his option return the said goods by treating it as a fresh supply and thereby issuing an invoice for the same. The value as shown in the invoice or on the basis of which goods were supplied earlier may be taken as the value of the such return supply. The wholesaler or manufacturer who is the recipient. Now, Mr. Ray is returning the time expired medicine to me by taking the same value which I have supplied to him, taking the same value, and I being a recipient eligible to claim the ITC of the tax invoice. Is there any confusion? I hope it is very clear. Now, if a composition dealer, he may return the goods by issuing the bill of supply and pay the tax at the rate applicable to the composition dealer. No ITC would be available to the recipient. An unregistered person, he may return the goods by issuing a commercial document without charging any tax on the same. There are three possibilities only, right? The return of the time expired goods by issuing the credit note. The first is Mr. A can send to the manufacturer by treating the same as fresh supply. Second, manufacturer of the company can issue the credit note to Mr. A. The manufacturer wholesaler who has supplied the goods to the wholesaler or retailer has the option to issue the credit note in relation to the time expired medicine. Retailer may return the time expired goods by issuing the delivery challan. If the credit note is issued within the time specified in the law, which we have discussed, the tax liability may be adjusted by the supplier. What is the time limit? 30th November following the end of the financial year or annual return, whichever is earlier. That is time limit to issue? No. We have discussed that is the time limit to declare the credit note. The tax liability may be adjusted by the supplier, subject to the condition that the person returning the time expired medicine has either not availed the ITC or if availed has reversed the ITC, so availed against the goods being returned. That is correct. So my recipient, if Mr. A is availed the ITC, has to reverse. If not availed, then no problem. However, if the set time limit is lapsed to declare the credit note, supplier can issue the credit note, but that credit note will be called as financial credit note or commercial credit note, and tax liability cannot be adjusted. And such financial or commercial credit note, there is no requirement to declare that credit note on the common portal by the supplier, as the tax liability cannot be adjusted in this case. Now, ultimately, when the time expired medicine has reached to me, either I have issued the credit note or you being Mr. A has issued the tax invoice, etc. In that case, when the goods reach to me, ultimately I will destroy that medicine, time expired. The time expired medicine are destroyed by the manufacturer. He need to reverse the input tax credit attributable to the goods in terms of 17 subsection 5 clause H. This clarification was given by the circular 72. They have given the example also. Date of the supply is 1st July 23. Date of return is 20 September 2024. Is it within the time limit to declare the credit note or time limit has been expired? The answer is it is within the time limit. So credit note will be issued by the supplier and the same will be uploaded by him on the GSTR portal in the GSTR1. The liability will be adjusted provided that either the recipient has not availed the ITC or if availed has reversed the ITC. Now this was the date of supply and this was the date of return. Still the recipient supplier can issue the credit note? The answer is yes. Now answer is yes, but earlier the last date was September at the time of the circular. No, Geet, it is not required to be updated. See, which part you can update? You can update the law part if it is corresponding amendment made in the law. But if the circular is being issued, that will be applicable as per the provision on that date. You cannot change the language of the circular because it is a official document, government document. So ये जब issue किया गया था, at that point of time September वाला date was applicable. So they have written according to that. They cannot change. ICAI also cannot change, and that is the reason they have not made the changes. ठीक है ना? I hope it is clear to all ना. अब इसको समझिए, ये 20 नवंबर है. Now treat the same as a 20 नवंबर, 20th November. Treat the same as 20th November. Credit note, but time limit is expired. then therefore tax liability cannot be adjusted. Shall issue the tax note stating the same. Correct. Cannot be. Subsequently, the tax liability cannot be adjusted. The ideal course of action in this case would be that the retailer or wholesaler returning the time expired medicine should issue the tax invoice stating the same as fresh supply. Content of the debit note or credit note as per Rule 53, Sub Rule 1A. Again, there is no prescribed format for any category of the document. Only content has been given. Name, address, GSTIN number, name of the nature of the document, consecutive serial number, date of issue, name, address, and GSTIN or UIN of the recipient, name, address of the recipient, and delivery address along with the name of the state and the code if such recipient is unregistered, serial number and date of the corresponding tax invoice, value of the taxable supplies, the goods or service, and the amount of the tax, signature or digital signature. Last part, prohibition of unauthorized collection of tax. A person who is not registered shall not collect the tax in respect of the supply by way of the tax under this act, and no registered person shall collect the tax except in accordance with the provision of the act or the rules made thereunder. So if it is unregistered, he cannot collect any tax. If registered, then he can collect the tax, whatever it is authorized by the law. Section 33 says amount of the tax to be indicated in the tax invoice and other document. It says that supplier shall prominently indicate what it should be indicated. Every person who is liable to pay the tax for such supply shall prominently indicate in all the document relating to assessment, tax invoice, and other like document amount of the tax which shall form part of the price at which the supply is made. So by this we have completed the chapter. 2 minutes I am giving you for asking any question, and then we'll start the quick round of the question answer. Quick round of the question answer on the entire chapter. Are all field of the invoice refund payment are mandated to learn for the exam? I'm sharing my understanding. Geet, the content is never being asked. If you really see, they normally ask a tricky question. And therefore, in my view, that it is not required, not too much attention is required. You see the past paper, whether they've asked any time, the content of the tax invoice, debit note, credit note, no. See, basic content, you know. Okay. So sometime it become mandatory. So for example, if invoicing is applicable, if invoicing is exempted, for example, if invoicing is exempted, then is there any additional requirement that you need to learn? So that probably you have discussed in the RCM chapter. Correct. So apart from that, the normal never being asked. It is a very easy question and never being expected from the CA final student. ठीक है, चलो स्टार्ट करते हैं. ठीक है, करें स्टार्ट. What is the receipt voucher? What is the receipt voucher? Issued when I have received the advance. What is the time limit if I have sold the goods on sales on approval to issue the tax invoice? What is the time limit? What is the time limit if I have sold the goods sales on approval basis? Either it has been accepted or when sales is made, or 6 months, max to max 6 months. For continuous supply of the goods or continuous supply of the service, what is the main difference? What is the main difference for continuous supply of the goods or continuous supply of the service? The goods, there is no minimum number of the days ka continuity, but if it is a service, it should be more than 3 months. Now tell me, there is one similarity in both the cases, which I told you that it is important to learn. क्या दोनों में एक सिमिलरिटी है? In case of the continuous supply, what is the similarity? The answer is periodical payment. Answer is periodical payment. Absolutely correct. Answer is periodical payment. There has to be there the periodical payment. Can I issue the credit note for the bad debts? The answer is no. Answer is no. Self invoicing will not be applicable if supplier is self invoicing will not be applicable if the supplier is complete the statement registered. Whether payment voucher is required if the supplier is registered? Answer is yes, it is required in both the cases, whether supplier is registered or not registered. In the four circumstances, the delivery challan can be made. Tell me what are the four circumstances? I can issue the delivery challan in the fourth situation. In short, you can tell. In short, you can tell the circumstances in which I can issue the delivery challan. First was transportation of the liquid gas. Second was job work. Third was when it is not a supply. And fourth was as notified. Absolutely correct. Thank you, Yogesh Geet, for giving the absolutely clear answer. Correct. In which case, the delivery challan would require the tax amount to be indicated on the document. In which case, the delivery challan required the indication of the amount to be tax amount to be indicated. Answer is if it is a supply. If it was a supply but could not issue the tax invoice, then it can be. Then in that case, what is the time limit to issue the tax invoice? Suppose because of any reason, at the time of the movement of the goods, I could not issue the tax invoice. I have prepared the delivery challan. Now, what is the time limit to issue the tax invoice in this case? What is the time limit to issue the tax invoice in this case when I'm making the delivery the same to the customer? E-invoicing would be applicable if my turnover exceed. E-invoicing would be applicable if my turnover exceed. E-invoicing would be applicable if my turnover exceed 5 crore. 5 crore. Can you please tell me this 5 crore is current financial year, last financial year, yeah, in any of the
क्वेश्चंस पूछता है ना मतलब एज अ स्टूडेंट
in any of the preceding financial year? In any of the preceding financial year? In any of the preceding financial year? Can you help me to recall what is the requirement of the 500 crore? कुछ requirement था 500 crore का. What was that requirement? Answer to the previous question is any of the preceding financial year. The answer is क्या requirement है 500 crore का? It is 500 crore. It is 500 crore. क्या requirement है? Dynamic QR code. Please tell me the relaxation for the QR code and the relaxation for the dynamic QR code is almost same. But tell me where there is a difference, situation or the transaction in which it is exempted but dynamic is not exempted, or dynamic is exempted, e-invoicing is not exempted. Tell me that. Very nice. क्या बात है संजय. I need the answer for relaxation. Yes, Geet has given the correct answer. Okay. Okay. Absolutely correct, Geet. Ayush, perfect. First point is perfect, but there will be two more circumstances. Yogesh, your point is correct. Correct. So what is the answer? E-invoicing is exempted if the supply is made by the SEZ unit or government or local department, but the same relaxation is not there in the dynamic QR code. And second, which was there in the dynamic but not in the e-invoicing, which was there in the dynamic but not in the e-invoicing. Yogesh, Ayush, everyone, can you give me the answer? Geet has given the answer. जहां पर डायनेमिक में रिलैक्सेशन है बट नॉर्मल में रिलैक्सेशन नहीं, दैट इज ओइडा. Tell me if I am making the supply to the government who is registered only for the purpose of TDS under section 51, will the invoicing is applicable or dynamic QR code is applicable? The answer is invoicing would be applicable. E-invoicing would be applicable because it is treated as B2B supply because it is treated as B2B supply. Now, if I am insurance company, I am making the supplies to the B2B transaction. In that case, what is the time limit to issue the invoice? I am insurance company. I am issuing the invoice to XYZ Limited. I'm not talking about the distinct person. If I'm issuing the invoice for my normal service, for my service provided to the XYZ Limited, what is the time limit? The time limit would be the time limit would be 45 days. Now tell me the name of the registered person, name of the entity, which are not there for the 45 days, but are there in case of the relaxation, given to the distinct person. टाइम लिमिट एक्सटेंडेड टाइम लिमिट इज अवेलेबल टू द डिस्टिंक्ट पर्सन. यहां पे कुछ सेक्टर कवर है, बट यहां पे एक एक्स्ट्रा सेक्टर कवर है, विच इज टेलीकॉम ऑपरेटर. करेक्ट. कैन यू प्लीज टेल मी द रिवाइज्ड इनवॉइस विल बी इशूड फॉर द सप्लाईज मेड बिटवीन दिस डेट टू दिस डेट. प्लीज कंफर्म, मैं जो रिवाइज इनवॉइस इशू करूंगा वो कौन से पीरियड की सप्लाई के लिए इशू करूंगा. Supplies made by this date to this date. Please confirm the date. Please confirm the date. From the when I am liable to get registered to the date I get registration. Okay. So from the date of the liability to the date of registration. Okay. So I think we have done with ma'am is there for last 5 minute discussion. Ma'am.
Yes, sir. A very good morning to all the students, and thank you so much, sir, for taking the session so exhaustively and covering the questions also at the end. In fact, these questions I think students enjoy the most because they get their concepts also revised, and moreover, whatever has been left, maybe some student sometimes his attention gets diverted or he has missed something, so that gets covered in the last 10 to 15 minutes question answer session, and I think that is very very useful to all of you. If any of you can share the feedback for the class and especially the questions which are being taken at the end, because I was planning to take few questions, but you have already taken everything so exhaustively, so I was feeling any feedback from Geet, Ayush, you can unmute yourself and you can share the feedback. Sanjay, Yogesh, because these students are regular in the class. I can see that they have been attending the class regularly. In fact, few
these classes are very very useful, very understandable.
Tell me your name, Sanjay.
Yes,
you are
Sanjay.
there, na? Yes, Sanjay.
Yes. Very useful. So the concepts are very clearly. I mean, the sir explains very clearly, and I can understand easily them.
Can you be a bit loud, Sanjay?
Yeah, the concepts are very clearly explained by sir,
Okay.
and very easily understandable. Yeah.
So your attempt is due in May 2026 exam.
May 26, yes.
Yes. Okay. And study material for May 26 has already been, I think, web hosted now. All the modules have been web hosted, if you can confirm, because that will be shortly available on the CDS portal also. This is for the information of the students. And for May 2026 examination, study material plus statutory update will be relevant. So we will be hosting the statutory update after maybe in November, on some date after the cutoff date, because for May 26 examination the cutoff date is 31st October 2025, and the whatever amendments have taken place till 31st October 2025. So study material is updated till 30th April. It was released before the cutoff date, and whatever amendments have taken place from 1st May to 31st October 2025, they will be covered in the statutory update. Moreover, Finance Act 2025 amendments, they were not applicable till 30th of April, so they have been given at the end of the chapter. But for examination purposes, they have become effective. Whatever amendments have become effective till 31st October, they will be applicable for May 26 examination. Everything will be informed to you through statutory update properly. Don't worry about that. Just to give you an idea, I'm telling. Geet has given some feedback. Let me see that. Okay, Geet is saying thank you for the session and very useful. Question and answers covers the whole session and easy to remember. That is what I also feel, that whatever question and answers are being covered at the end of each of the class, they are exhaustively covering the entire topic. Any suggestion you want, anything you want to improve, or you feel that this can also be added to the class, you can share with us. You can share the feedback for the class through feedback form. That is very much recommended because that helps us in retaining the positive aspects or the useful aspects of the class. We can continue with them if you share the feedback with us, and they will also help us in improving. If anything you feel can be improved, that also we request you to share with us. So I think with this we come to an end of the session. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, students, for attending the session. We can
Thank you very
conclude.
much.
Yeah, we can end the session. Yes. Thank